Hello, I want to talk about a couple of suggestions I have for students studying for math tests. I'm going to use the Big Ideas Geometry textbook, but this would really apply to any math class with any textbook. It's going to be the same kind of setup in almost all math books. Okay, so a lot of times I see students before a test flipping through the book or flipping through their notes. Which is, I'm not saying that that's not useful. That's a good place to start, and that might be a good place to end if you only have a few minutes left before the test or something. But if you're trying to get ready for a test, you need to do some math problems. Just looking at math problems is a great start, but it'll only get you so far. Okay, so I use an online book in my classes. And a lot of the students never look at the physical book, but I think it's easier actually to use a physical book. So I would suggest to all of my students and any students out there, if you're solely using the online book, try to check out a book from your teacher. I've got lots of copies if you're one of my students, so you can check a physical one out. It just makes it easier to flip through the whole chapter and find the things, I think. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that I'm getting ready for the Chapter 10 test in Big Ideas. So I've got some pages earmarked here, so I'm going to just flip to the beginning of Chapter 10. So here's the beginning of Chapter 10. Again, I see people just flipping through the pages. But what I would recommend doing is going and finding example problems. So in any textbook, here's example 1 from Chapter 10. They've got this problem that it has a problem here, and then it's also got the answers and it has some explanation. So let's say you already covered this and you have an idea how to do it. I would cover up the solution, try to do the problem, and then compare with the solution down here. Okay, and just doing that can be really beneficial. And if you had no idea, if you'd forgotten this stuff or never really learned it, just read through it. And then down below, there's usually some extra problems. In the Big Ideas books, these are called monitoring progress problems, right down here, okay? And the solution isn't right here, but it is in the back of the book, which I'll show you in a minute, okay? So first, I would just copy down the problem or just cover up the solution in some way, try the example problem, and then move on to do some more examples. And obviously, if you got that one down, then you can go move past it and go to some areas that might be causing you some difficulty. Okay, so there again is another example. There's the solution to it, and then the monitoring progress, and I'll show you where those answers are in the back of the book. Okay. And once at the back of every section in any math textbook, there's going to be exercises of some sort, and these where a lot of times the homework problems come from here. What I see students do with the homework problems, they'll do the homework, say, from 10.1, and then I see students diligently correcting when I put up the solutions in class. They'll mark the ones they got wrong, put in the right answers. That's great. You should definitely do that. But that should really be the beginning of the exploration of those concepts. So, if you got 100% on a homework and you really know the material, that's great. You can move on. But if you missed problems, you should really start analyzing those problems. So if you already know what your mistakes are, try them over again. If you don't know what your mistakes are, then that's when you would talk to a teacher or another student or a parent or something like that, or go to your textbook and try to figure it out, or the internet or something like that. But spend some time reworking problems that you've missed, okay? In most math books, all of the odd answers are in the back of the book, including in Big Ideas, so I'll show you where that is as well, okay? All right. At the end of the chapter, and this is actually where I would personally start if I was studying. So there's something called the chapter review in the at the end of the chapter, and this is great because it's got the material broken down into different sections, and it's only a few pages long. So I don't have to flip through all of chapter 10 to kind of get an overview of what's happening in chapter 10. And that way, if there's certain sections that are more difficult than others, I can focus in on those pretty quickly. So One thing that I like about these, they give you little information. So you see they have this problem worked out here. So if you are struggling with that, you didn't learn it, or you were absent or something, or then you've got something to work from there. Okay, and then there's some more example problems. And with these chapter reviews, all of these the answers are in the back of the book, not just the odds. So very useful way to practice. And you can see in each section they have some sort of, they have some sort of information in most, well, not all of them, but most of them, they have some information at the top of the section to get you started. Lots of good examples there, and you can go through the whole chapter in a couple of pages worth of problems. Okay? And again, try those out on paper. Don't just look at them and try to think through what the answer is, because then you won't have a record of what you're doing. Okay? So let's say I was working on problem 34. Well, you don't necessarily need to copy the diagram down, but I'd want to tell myself, okay, I'm on the chapter 10 review. You can put the page number down if that's helpful. This is page 585. And then I'm doing number 34. Okay, and I do my work. I'm not going to go through the work here, but let's say I got my work, I don't know, 2x plus 7 equals 19 or whatever, and then I find x equals 63. Well, if you don't write down your work and show your work and have a record of where it is, it's hard to figure out what went wrong. If I do write that down, I can go back and find the problem once I've looked at the solution and say, what went wrong here, and try to figure it out, and that's going to really help to prepare for an exam. Okay. If you go past the chapter review, there's something called the chapter test. And the chapter test is just one page in Big Ideas. It's much shorter, and this is a condensed version of the chapter review. It doesn't give you any information, it doesn't have any examples here, and it doesn't have it broken down by sections, but it's a survey of different types of questions from the whole chapter. So once you get through the chapter review and you're feeling pretty confident, this would be a good place to go to get some more practice. So yeah, it's all about practice. It's one thing. It's easy to make a sports analogy. It's one thing to understand how to shoot a free throw, but you got to practice it, right? So it's watching someone else do math is a good first step, but then you got to apply it and practice it, and you want to get really comfortable with it where it feels super easy and you know exactly what to do. That's where you want to be going into the test. Okay, so there's these yellow tabs in the on the side, and that's where the selected answers are. So that's how I find that quickly. And it's kind of a pain to navigate, I'm not going to lie, with these selected answers, but they've got answers. So I'm in chapter 2 right here, so I've got to go forward a little bit. Let's find chapter 10. And yeah, there's a lot jammed on here, but here's the chapter 10 answers. So if you go to 10.1, the monitoring progress and modeling with mathematics, the monitoring progress are those, they have the example problems in the book and then a couple others to try, and here are the solutions to all of those, okay? And it has the same thing for all of the sections, but also it has the odd answers from the textbook, from the exercises, okay? And if you go to the end of where chapter 10 is, here's all of the chapter 10 review answers that you got right there. The chapter test ones aren't in there because I guess some teachers maybe use the chapter test questions to actually make their chapter test, but you could ask your teacher, or if I'm your teacher, if you want those chapter 10 test answers, I could certainly give those to you if you're my student. Okay, that's all I really got. Try the problems, show your work, keep track of what you're doing, and you got to keep track of your work too, and maybe I'll make another video about how to show your work neatly and keep that organized. Okay, and that's all I got. Thanks a lot. See you next time.